just ignore the masses. If you want to live like everybody else, you're going to be poor like everybody else. That's just how it is. Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer, and I want to talk a bit about getting rich, right? And so when we think about getting rich, a lot of people, everybody wants to get rich, but nobody wants to take the time and the effort and the dedication to get there. And everybody's so impatient. I see it a lot, even with limited partner investors. I see it a lot. They look at a deal and they're only looking for the big returns. They want the biggest returns possible. And don't get me wrong, I want the biggest returns possible too, but they're not thinking about the approach. They're not thinking about, okay, what actually creates wealth? What has been proven throughout the years to create wealth? Is it high risk deals or is it low risk, get rich slow type of deals? And that's what has through the years proven to be a point to get wealth is get rich slow. I remember one of my good friends, we were talking about what I was doing in real estate. This is years ago. And I'm talking about buying these houses. And, my goal is to cash flow $300 a month on a single family home and $500 on a duplex and so on. And he's like, oh, yeah, hurry up and wait. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Hurry up and wait, or actually just slow down and wait. You don't need to focus on that quick hit because what's going to happen is you're going to end up losing. And if you're not patient, that's just what happens. It takes time and it can go faster, it can go slower, but for you, depending on, look, stop looking at what everybody else is doing because most of it's smoke and mirrors. And I think that's a big part of what's happened today is people see, people on LinkedIn, people on Facebook, people on Instagram and so on. And they hear podcasts and they hear people talking about how things have gone. And they're like, wow, they've gotten rich so quick. And they forgot to tell you or just, didn't tell you because it wasn't part of really the story of how long it took, how much time and effort they put in. I've talked about how I've created wealth, but so many times I leave out the point of, look, here's the deal. You want to get rich, you have to save your money. And it's not just put in a piggy bank, right? That's not what I'm talking about. But when I started this real estate journey, we were my wife and I were both working. We weren't making a ton of money, but I was a teacher and I would invest in the real estate deals and I would take every single last penny that I made in these real estate deals and I would put it right back into the business. I would buy the next deal and the next deal and the next deal. And I did that for many years. I quit my job. We lived off my wife's income. Okay. We didn't really take money from the business. At times it kind of irritated my wife a little bit, but she understood, she saw it. And quite frankly, she's probably more frugal than I am. And so you have to be willing to not live like everybody else. And so we didn't buy the fanciest house that we could afford. And quite frankly, we bought like the cheapest house that we could go after. We would buy these foreclosure houses that were a wreck and fix them up and then take the profits and move it into the next property and keep our mortgage nice and low. In fact, today we're sitting here with the lowest mortgage balance we've ever had since we first bought our very first house, right? Our payments are lower than they were when we bought our very first starter home. And that's the point is you want to just ignore the masses. If you want to live like everybody else, you're going to be poor like everybody else. That's just how it is. Okay. We, we, I don't want to sit here and say we're super poor. We don't have any extravagance. And, that's just a lie. But also, we grinded, right? And we didn't buy the extra stuff and we still don't, right? We live on a pretty tight uh budget we just don't spend a lot of money. Now we are a little bit more free today with our spending than we were when we were younger. But that's because we've, kind of earned that a bit. Um, Back to, when I first started in this real estate business, we we literally, my wife, or I quit my job and my wife, was still working, and we used her entire salary. That's what we lived off of. Everything else, it didn't matter how much we made. Didn't matter if we made, $100,000 that year or $1 million. We would plow everything back into the business. We wouldn't spend any of it. So we're sitting here saving, 50, 75%, 90% of our income would go back into building the real estate business. We'd go back into investing more money. And then in 2020, my wife quit her job. And so we lost that income, that safety net, which was a little nerve wracking, but we were doing just fine. And so we took then again all of our income. We finally, after 12 years in real estate, finally started paying, myself, ourselves. And so we started taking some money, but we didn't we didn't all of a sudden start taking a bunch more money. We just took what we needed. And the rest, again, probably 50 to 75%, depending on, the year and how much was made that year, goes back into investing in the business. And we just keep on doing that. And we're doing that still to this day. And we love to travel. We love to do things like that. But even when you look at our lifestyle today, we'll travel certainly, but we travel. We stay in a uh, cheaper Airbnb. We're not staying in the nastiest one possible, right? We're not staying in a nasty hotel, but we're definitely not staying in a high end hotel. We're staying at the Holiday Inn, right? We're staying at something like that where it's just, okay. We're looking at the Airbnb. We're not going to rent the Airbnb that's going to cost us $600 a day because we can. No, we're going to rent the Airbnb that costs us $150 a day because we we want to keep our money invested. We don't want to spend all our money. We don't want to all of a sudden start living on an extravagant lifestyle. So, yeah, do we travel? Yeah, but we travel super frugally. I mean, I bet most people would be shocked at how little we spend when we go on vacations. I don't think many people can do that, and we do it because it's just for us. We enjoy it, and we don't need to live lavishly. We don't need to buy the brand new boat. We're looking at a camper. We want to buy a camper. Our last camper got smashed by a tree. And so we got insurance money from that. And so we want to replace our camper. We could certainly go out and buy something beautiful and new and spend, $100,000 or more on a camper. But instead, we're going to buy something used. It's going to be, 10, $15,000, and we'll be fine with it. And it doesn't bother us. And so I guess the point I'm trying to make is if you want to create true, real, lasting wealth, you have to learn how to grind. You have to learn how to be super frugal for a time period. And now I don't mean to say everybody should be like me, because you've got to also do what is going to make you motivated and happy. And if it doesn't motivate you, if by being super frugal for your entire life doesn't motivate you to continue to build and grow, and that makes you miserable, it's not worth it, right? But for me, I don't, quite frankly, I don't need it. Like, I don't care. It just doesn't. I don't even think about it. I don't think about being frugal. It just becomes natural, I guess. I don't think about, oh, I really want to buy that, Lamborghini. No, like, I care less. It's a cool looking car, but what would I do with it? I'm driving on a regular road. I can go the same speed with, a Honda Civic as I can with a Lamborghini. So for me, and I'm not slamming people who buy it, because good for you. If you can afford it and it makes sense and you want it, great, go buy it, do your thing. But for me, it just doesn't get me going. So I'm not going to do it. And I guess I don't want to sit here and say, don't spend any money, right? Don't spend any money. You got it. But if you're truly trying, especially if you're younger, but it really doesn't matter where you are. If you're younger in your journey, I should say, you've got to be able to shut off that spending. You've got to be able to be frugal and take in whatever you're making today, figure out how you can save 50% of that money and start investing it in real estate, investing it in businesses, investing it in yourself, right? Take 50% or more of your income and start doing that. And you're like, well, geez, I can't cut that much. I don't make that much money. Well, then figure out how to get more money coming in the door. How do you start a business, right? How do you start creating more wealth to come in the door, more income to come in the door so you can save 50%? If you're making $75,000 and you're living on $75,000 and you can't cut expenses because you got 3 kids and blah blah blah, okay, well then figure out how you can make another $75,000, $70,000. Like figure out how you can do that. And that way you can put all that money back into continuing to invest, grow the business, continuing to invest, growing your real estate investments, whatever your avenue is, right? You got to figure out a way to do that. So get rich slow, take your time, be patient. Don't look at what you hear on podcasts. Use it for motivation. Don't use it to be depressed and go, I got to get there faster. I'm not getting there fast enough. We all take our own time. Some people, it takes a few years because they just hit the right time in the market. And some people take decades. It doesn't really matter. The importance of it is the journey and the lessons you learn along the way. Quite frankly, a lot of people that it takes very short period of time aren't learning enough valuable lessons and think it comes easy. And then they start living that lifestyle. I saw this a lot when I was younger, and maybe it probably molded me a little bit of how I think today. But I watched these, guys that were making a ton of money back in 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006. They're making a ton of money, and all of a sudden I see them and they're buying gorgeous houses, right, with beautiful pools, and they've got brand new trucks, and they've got a nice four-wheeler, and they bought the cabin, and they all this kind of stuff, and they got so much stuff, and it's like, wow, this is so impressive. These guys are crushing it. They're doing amazing. And then all of a sudden the Great Recession happened, and come to find out they don't have any money, right? They just spent all their money on these toys and this crap that they didn't really need. Probably isn't making them very happy, by the way. And all of a sudden the boats go away, and the four-wheeler goes away, and the cabin goes away, and the house gets foreclosed on, and all that stuff just erodes quickly because what they didn't do is create wealth, right? They had a job that was paying them a lot of money. They had a business that was paying them a lot of money, and they took all that money and they spent it all. And so don't get into that trap of doing that for sure, because that's definitely an easy path to destruction. Again, I'm not saying don't spend your money. You do what makes you happy, right? Figure out a way where you can save a substantial portion. I like 50%, a substantial portion of your income. Put that away and invest it passively in things like real estate, things like new businesses, startup businesses, your own business, stocks, of course, and that kind of stuff. So that's my advice for, how do you get rich? It's easy. It's an easy recipe, I should say, but sometimes it's really hard to follow. All right. That's all I got for today. You have a fantastic rest of the day. Make every day Saturday. Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really
need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.